This recording is going to be a makeup session for any of the mentor teachers or new teachers who are unable to attend the face-to-face sessions of the Waco ISD Succeed Be Grateful meetings. That was either October 30th for mentors or November the 1st or 5th for the new teachers. I know there's a lot going on during this time of year, and so we completely understand if you are unable to attend for school-related events or other things. So again, we provide this opportunity. Later along in the video, you'll be provided with a bit.ly that you can sign in to receive credit for your attendance of this training. So let's go ahead and get started. Realize that as we go, all of the information, the activities, the materials, the resources, this presentation, along with links to the videos, will be provided in your Google Classroom setting. So the entire theme of this meeting was revolving around being grateful. This time of year during the holiday season can become really overwhelming. So as mentors, you understand in your experience what this time of year can be like as the difficulties in the classroom, as student behaviors begin to show themselves. Also, you understand that after Thanksgiving and that break between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that it's a really trying time in education. So we ask that you are working with your new teachers during this time to support them in their classrooms. As new teachers, you begin to realize that this holiday season was perfectly placed at the right time of year as you feel like you're beginning sometimes to become overwhelmed with the work and the activity that's taking place at this time. So this video that will be provided in the links was from Soul Pancake, and it's just a really cool experiment they did with 4 individuals that are sharing their gratitude towards someone else in their life. So I'm not going to play this for you here in this makeup session, but I would highly encourage you to go out and watch this video. It'll make you smile, it'll make you cry, and it'll just kind of remind you of taking the time sometimes to tell someone that you are grateful for all they do for you or how special they are to you can really not only lift them in their lives and in their demeanor, but also as the one telling them, it makes you feel good as well. So watch this video. It'll really make you feel good after watching it. So the agenda of what we're going to do, we'll talk a little bit about some of the activities we did in the face-to-face session around the topic of I'm grateful. We're going to go over some T-test components, including the formal observation, areas of refinement, along with the targeted student skill profile, or TSP, that goes along with the student learning objective, or the SLO process. We'll talk about how to keep them engaged during this holiday season, providing some instructional strategies, as well as access to some instructional technology strategies that were provided in the face-to-face sessions. We'll talk about how to prepare yourself for the holiday season, and we'll talk about the upcoming assignments and meetings that wrap up the first semester and second part of the year with Waco ISD Succeed. We'll also show you some of the resources if you would like to go out and do some of your own Thankful for You activities that we did during the face-to-face sessions. So we started out this meeting by doing an activity called I'm Grateful. And so these are some slides with the instructions. Basically on the tables there were plates of M&Ms, and the individuals were instructed that within the group they would first determine in their group who had the birthday that was closest to the current holiday of Thanksgiving. From that they would begin selecting M&Ms, and they were given an instruction sheet with directions on how they would use the stem I am grateful for, along with then the activity itself, who they were going to come up with, who they were grateful for. So here's an example of the activity sheet that was out on each table. So here they would start with the stem, I'm grateful for, and they would, to the group, describe a colleague who they work with every day if they drew a blue M&M. If they drew a brown M&M, you can see this student in my classroom who I come to teach every day, and so you can see several different examples. It's a really great activity and a way for people to kind of open up and share with the group in a way that's non-threatening. The color of the M&M drawn really determines the conversation, and so it causes people not have to worry as much about choosing. They're able just to focus on the choice that they are given, and it's really fun to watch this activity in the sessions because everybody smiled, everybody kind of took themselves out of the normal day, the normal routine, and they were just there with their colleagues, with their peers, kind of celebrating and talking about fellow students and colleagues, spouses, significant others who they were thankful for. So again, a very neat activity that you can do not just with other peers or colleagues, but something you could also adjust to do with your students as well, and giving them the opportunity to reflect upon their peers, their colleagues, their home before they go into this holiday season. So a really neat, quick activity, and of course everybody gets to eat M&Ms, which makes everybody happy. So those directions are provided there, and then within the activity folder in Google Classroom, you'll also see the activity sheet itself. Again, that's a document that you can make a copy and edit any way you want to if you want to use that in your classroom. I think that is awesome. So after some fun with a little warm-up in the I'm Grateful activity, we moved into our section on T-tests. So this is going to be important for both new teachers and mentors. The big thing coming up, if you have not had your formal observation, it's very likely that you have now been scheduled for a time to receive your formal observation. That formal observation process will have the pre-conference, the formal observation itself, which is a full lesson cycle or 45-minute period, and then the post-conference that has to take place within 10 school days after the formal observation. So the pre-conference is kind of used to really talk with your appraiser about your planning process, how you're preparing the activities for the classroom, what sort of data you're looking at with your students to determine the level of instruction that they need on an individual basis, etc. It's also a time to be really open with them about some of the struggles maybe you're having in your classroom, some things you want them to watch so they can maybe provide you with some additional guidance and structure on how to better do those things in your classroom, and just really to provide, again, any insights to your classroom that they may not have as the appraiser and not being in your room on a day-to-day basis. All formal observations are due to the Human Resources Department by December 14th. So again, if you have not had the formal observation, you will have it coming up pretty quickly. So just be aware of that and be ready for it. Mentors, we ask that you support your new teachers who are new in this process. The formal observation can sometimes be an overwhelming event. As veteran teachers, most of you are very comfortable with the idea of them coming to your class to observe, and it doesn't bother you. As a new teacher, it can seem daunting. It's okay. Things are going to happen in your class during the formal observation, and for the most part, we are our own worst critics. So as you're reflecting on your formal observation, again, try to take it easy on yourself. Don't feel like everything in the class went wrong. Oftentimes what you feel is not going right in the classroom when viewed by outside parties is actually not the case. So again, just breathe. The formal observation will come and it will go. And then from that, you're going to get some areas of refinement, and that's where we'll focus our second part of the Waco ISD Succeed program, and having mentors support our new teachers in helping to achieve those areas of refinement defined in the formal observation process. So a couple resources we give you here. In the folder that you'll receive in Google Classroom, there's a folder labeled T-Tests. In there you have things such as the T-Test pre-conference questions. So as a new teacher, or even as a veteran teacher and a mentor, it's nice to see this, which is kind of a list of questions that help to guide the appraisers as they're going through the pre-conference process. This can help you as a teacher prepare yourself mentally to answer some of these questions and kind of go through some of these things so that when you're in your pre-conference, it can go much more efficiently and be a much better use of time. So that's a pre-conference question sheet. That's what's going to be filled out and provided for you in your Eduphoria Strive platform. There's also the post-conference page, so if you want to see what the post-conference will look like, they'll be marking the individual levels on each dimension for domains 1, 2, and 3. Again, we won't touch domain 4 until the summative evaluation. So here they're focusing on planning, instruction, and the learning environment. And most of that planning domain comes out of the pre-conference information. You can see here on the bottom, they're going to define an area of reinforcement, which is something that they saw during that 45-minute snapshot of the observation that went well. And then they'll also find an area of refinement. So based on the T-Test rubric and based on that 45-minute observation, they're going to target an area to improve upon as the area of refinement. And as a new teacher, you'll want to talk through this with your mentor as they can support you with providing evidence in attaining the area of refinement and working towards that goal. And then as a mentor teacher, again, sit down with your new teachers and talk through these areas and talk about things that you are seeing in their classroom and help them to collect that evidence so when the summative evaluation comes up, all of that information is there. But again, that's what the post-conference form will look like, and again, you'll see that in your Eduphoria Strive platform. In here also, there is a guidebook on the Student Learning Teacher Guide. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there's information on how to access your Strive platform, how to add goal evidence, which is a great tool to be able to track your evidence for your area of refinement or your goals, both professional and student learning objective. That way it's there in one location for your appraiser to view, and you have a running record of that with both timestamp and date stamps as well. And then here's also information on how you can view your appraisal data. So as you're getting your formal observation, you won't actually have immediate access to that. You won't receive the formal observation in your Eduphoria platform until after you've completed your post-conference. But once you complete your post-conference, the appraiser marks that as viewable. And to view it, all you do is you go into your Strive platform. So once they've marked your appraisal as viewable, you can go into your Strive application, and I've logged in here and I'm going under the Evaluations tab, and you can see here we have our goal setting documents, the student learning objective, which we'll talk about here in just a moment, any informal walkthroughs that have been conducted, but here's that observation. Here's the pre-conference, observation, post-conference, and again, once they're marked as viewable, you'll see those here and you can go in and view those documents and then complete your electronic signature if that is needed. This is also where you'll see your summative evaluation at the end of the year. But again, observation and the formal observation won't be viewable until the post-conference is completed and your appraiser has then marked it as viewable. That area of refinement again is going to be very important to allow your mentor, for new teachers, to allow your mentor to kind of view that with you so you can go over ways that you're going to address that. You'll actually see that assignment number 3 in Waco ISD Succeed in the program is actually aligned to help you guide that process, to really set out a plan for your area of refinement and have your mentor support your new teacher in that process. The piece that's new for both mentors and new teachers, and again, the mentors will play a critical role in supporting our new teachers in developing their targeted student skill profile. So this deals with the student learning objective, or SLOs, that we haven't really touched since the beginning of the year when we completed the initial student skill profile, or the ISP. So this is coming up very quickly. November the 16th is the due date for the targeted student skill profile. Basically, this is that same rubric process, but now instead of looking at the initial skills for the year, what you're looking at is what the typical student leaves the classroom with based on the skills that were defined in the initial student skill profile, or ISP. So these should be created in collaboration with your grade level team. So no one should be doing this as an individual. You should be working with either a content-based team or a grade level team at elementary. I know with special programs, fine arts, music, all of the physical education teachers, things like that. If you can collaborate with your colleagues and peers on other campuses at the elementary level, since you kind of are solo on the campus, that really does help. So you can have a coherent and similar profile that you're following and focusing on a similar skill. Again, it also helps to bounce those ideas off of one another when you're defining that typical student. And this is where the teachers with experience in the classroom, your knowledge and skills is crucial to the success of the TSP creation process, because our new teachers just don't have that background to know what the typical student should leave the classroom with. Remember, in the TSP process, although we always are talking about student growth, really what we're targeting here is teacher growth. The student growth measure from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, the actual growth of the student is not the key component. It's actually the process that you're going through as a teacher with your colleagues and peers to define your instructional practice to move the students and cause them to grow. That's really where we focus on teacher growth more than student growth. So again, don't think of this as a pre-test, post-test type situation where all students must grow. And we'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a second. The TSPs are a means for considering long-term goals for students. And then you'll make this TSP based on this distribution of skills seen in students that you have in the class. So at this time, you've made your ISP, your initial skill profile, and you have placed students on that initial skill profile after the first 6 weeks of the school year. You really have a pretty good understanding of where they stand on that ISP and what their skill level is at this point. And from that, you'll define where you think the typical student would end up at the end of the year and what they should display at the end of the course. Again, inside of Edu4ia Strive, underneath the Evaluations tab, when you're doing your student learning objective, the TSP, you're going to go back into your original form, actually where you generated your initial student skill profile. So at the beginning of the year, you already did the focus statement, and then you did this initial skill profile where you define the typical student, the well above typical, the above, the below, and the well below. And then you have placed your students within those different levels of the rubric that was created by your team or content area. And you'll see if you scroll down one more, you're going to see step 3, what are my expectations? And again, this is where you're going to generate your targeted student skill profile. In that T-Test folder, there is, again, the SLO teacher guide that provides you with some instructions on how to generate the targeted student skill profile. So if you look at question 3, what are my expectations for these students? It starts on page 14. It kind of gives you a baseline of instructions for how to go about this process. And again, what they're saying here is you must consider past experience and past students that you've had in the class. This is again why, as a new teacher, you're really going to be relying on not only your mentor, but the teachers on your team for their past experience in the classroom, because you don't have a really strong foundation in what the students that you've had in a class are going to end up like. So again, new teachers, look for support from your mentors and your veteran teachers. Mentors, this is where you can really help provide your knowledge and experience in the classroom to guide these new teachers in the targeted student skill profile creation. If you have any additional questions on this, please don't hesitate to reach out to your instructional leadership on campus or to myself in the Office of Professional Development, and we'll be happy to try to provide any additional guidance possible. We can also work with your content specialist or with your reading coaches at the elementary level. Again, any additional support needed, because this process is new for everyone, please don't hesitate to ask. Again, one of the key components of the targeted skill profile is it is due on November the 16th. So again, making sure that you're taking the time to go ahead and get that entered into Edu4ia Strive in your same student learning objective form that you worked on your initial student skill profile in. The next thing we talked about in our face-to-face meeting was how to keep them engaged. So one of the handouts that you'll find in your activity sheet is a list of AVID strategies, instructional strategies. And the encouragement there was to take a few minutes to look over those strategies, kind of look at some of the things maybe you've already done in your classroom, and maybe try to identify 1 or 2 things that you might like to try in your classroom. During the holiday season, of course, the students are very high in energy. Some students are showing additional behaviors that are showing themselves in the classroom, and a lot of that could do with students' unknowing and anxiety that deals with the holiday. If the student doesn't know where they're going for the holiday, where they're going to stay, how the meals are going to be provided, they're losing their consistency that takes place in school, and they're being placed in a situation that they may not be comfortable with, and that can come out in student behavior. Providing them with additional, more engaging activities can help to kind of ease those behavioral issues, but also keeping and maintaining some of your classroom consistency helps as well. So again, finding one or two things that you can try. And one of the examples that we had during the meeting was Lisa Monti came out and demonstrated the use of Plickers. And so if you have never used Plickers in the classroom, it's a very low-tech way to kind of build in some additional student engagement. Basically, Plickers are a flashcard or kind of a QR code system that students can use to answer questions as a group, that you can provide immediate data and feedback and provide information back to the class in a way that's anonymous. It's very low risk for the students, and again, just a neat way to provide some immediate feedback. So all it really requires is the app and the printouts of the QR codes. And so here is a video of Lisa Monti describing that you can find on the Blended Learning website. And she also has several other technology tools there as well. So if you've never seen the Blended Learning page, if you go to the Waco ISD website, on the main menu bar, there's actually a drop down for Blended Learning. And under here, Lisa has been providing some weekly videos on technology tools. So under the Connect with Us, you can see that there's the Waco ISD Blended Learning YouTube channel. So each week she's on Tuesdays filming a 10-minute tech tool. And so you can see here we have several different tools that she has already done videos on over the course of the year. She tries to keep these 10 minutes and below. So you can see some of these videos are really short. Here's 1 minute and 42 seconds, 3 minutes, 23 seconds. Just quick tips and strategies that you can use in the classroom to increase student engagement during this holiday season. So if you haven't subscribe to this channel, and weekly you can look for a new tech tool that you can try and utilize in your classroom if you think it fits the needs of your current lesson plan. The next thing we talked about during our meeting was helping to prepare for the holiday season. And so as mentors, you know several of these things based on your experience. As new teachers, just know that we're just trying to provide some suggestions as you build up to the holiday season. One, don't build up the anticipation. Don't start the countdown with the students and in those daily activities that guide them towards the release for the holidays. As teachers, you may be excited for the holiday. As a child growing up, maybe depending on your experience, might have been a very exciting time for you. And again, for some of our students, the holiday is a time of anxiety. It's a time of unknowing. So try not to build the anticipation. Try to keep it as consistent as possible, as engaging as possible. And, you know, as you prepare to release them to that holiday season, just letting them know how much you care and you're excited to see them when they come back. And again, keeping it as consistent as possible building up to the season. Resist the urge to ease up on your behavioral expectations. It is a fun time of the year. There are some fun activities and things that can be done. But again, continue to keep your expectations high and continue to track the behavior. This is a time of the year when you'll be going over your procedures and expectations again and again. You'll have to review those after you come back from the Thanksgiving holiday, and then you'll have to review those again when you come back from Christmas. And so this is a great time in your classroom. If classroom management has been a struggle, it's a great time to kind of reset your class, reset those processes and procedures, and those expectations, so that the rest of the year can go smoothly. So new teachers, take advantage of those opportunities. Mentors, if your new teachers have any questions with that, please feel free to share with them some of the tips and experiences that you've had in the classroom to help them through that process. Classroom management can be really daunting at times and can really bog down the learning experience for the students, and we want you to be as successful as possible and take advantage of these opportunities to reset. We talked about the high interest activities. You're going to hear things like, this is the time of year to bring out your best activities. Well, as mentor teachers, as veteran teachers, you have a whole tool belt full of those great activities, those great lessons that align to the standards and content. But as new teachers, oftentimes you're bringing your best lessons every single day. So it's almost laughable to hear somebody tell you to bring out your best, as if you've been holding on to your great activities just waiting for the holiday season. So bring in those high interest projects, but again, try to maintain some regular routines and don't completely adjust your classroom and move away from your consistency. Don't feel the pressure to do all the elaborate holiday stuff. Many of the veteran teachers will have years and years of supplies that they've collected. As a new teacher, don't feel like you need to run out and buy all those things for your classroom, and do what you can, but don't overwhelm yourself. Keep the last day before the holiday low key. This year we have an early release prior to Christmas, but the day before the Thanksgiving holiday is actually a normal full scheduled day. Keep it low key. Take some time to talk with your students again. Let them know that you'll be thinking about them. You're excited to see them when they come back, but you want to prepare them for the holiday and leave them in a calm and reassuring way to know that they're coming back to a classroom where they're wanted, and to also know that throughout the week that they're being thought about as they head out for the holiday season. And this, of course, was the one that we really emphasized, and this is probably the most difficult. Be prepared for your return before you leave. The more you can do prior to leaving for the holiday, the more time you can spend preparing lesson plans, preparing some of your activities, getting printouts for the day that you return. It means the more that you can enjoy your holiday. The worst thing you can do is leave your classroom in disarray, not remove all of your holiday decorations, not have anything printed off, because then when you are getting ready to come back from the holiday, your mind starts to run and begins to think about, well, I don't have anything ready for Monday. How can I get back up to campus? How can I get these things done? And you really stop enjoying and relaxing during the holiday a day or two early as you begin to worry about those things. So the more you can do prior to leaving for the holiday, the more you can actually take the time to enjoy your holiday and rest and relax, knowing that you're well prepared for the day on your return. There's a link to the full article if you want to view that, and that's also provided in the activity folder. Upcoming assignments, so new teachers, mentors, both have an observation. This link here was to the new teacher observation, but the mentors have their second observation due on November 16th as well. Again, all we're looking at is 3 positives to 1 area of growth. So these are short 10, 15-minute observations if you're able to, 5 minutes if you're not. You want to get into a classroom and view a veteran teacher. And then as mentors, again, you want to get into your new teachers' classrooms and provide them some positive feedback. See some of the things that they're doing well, continuing to do well from the last observation, or some of the things that they've improved upon based on what you saw in the first observation. 3 positives, 1 area of growth, and those are due on November the 16th. And again, the form itself is just a real quick activity form filled out in Google. Reflection and goal setting. This is assignment 3 for new teachers and for mentor teachers. It looks slightly different. New teachers, you have the goal setting, and you're going to define for yourself, you're going to reflect and identify 2 areas of refinement, 2 areas of reinforcement. We always want to pull out the positive and see things that are going well. Mentor teachers, here's your assignment where you're going to identify areas of reinforcement, so 2 strengths, and then you're going to sit down with your new teacher and define that area of refinement. Hopefully it aligns to what took place from the formal observation, so you can begin to help the new teacher collect evidence and set out an action plan of how they're going to tackle that area of refinement from the formal observation. So when they come to their summative evaluation at the end of the year, they have all that evidence collected so they can share that with their appraiser. We can take a few moments now to go ahead and sign in so you can receive credit. When you access the Bitly, what you should see is just a quick sign-in form with your ID. Just place your full 8-digit ID number and hit submit, and you'll be signed in to receive credit for the meeting. New teachers and mentor teachers, you have a middle of the year survey. What we always ask is just be very open and honest with the feedback here. We're the only ones who view this information, but we use it to better this program each and every year. So your feedback is greatly appreciated and valued. We've made changes to the program every year to try to eliminate some of the burden, to try and make the assignments more meaningful, more enjoyable. And so any information you can provide us, we greatly appreciate. Upcoming meetings, new teachers and mentor teachers. We have a January online session. New teachers will come back on the 5th of February, and then all mentors and new teachers will meet in May, on May the 23rd, to celebrate the end of the year. So again, January is an online meeting. It'll be provided in Google Classroom. February is for new teachers only, and then the May meeting is for mentors and new teachers, and that will be a meeting where we're all together and we're celebrating the year and celebrating the successes that took place.